Yeah.
So I'm going to spare everybody by not taking my shirt off and showing you what's on the back.
Okay.
But it's got a history of all the cars that they've raced over like the past 10 years or so.
Mm.
So, and it's kind of like a little tree, like a family tree of cars. So, yeah.
Do they name them?
Some of them have names, yes. They kept one of them. It was a BMW 3 Series. I can't remember which model, but they call it Doris.
Oh.
And it's what they let the freshmen, when they do the first track day, they let all the freshmen drive Doris.
Does Doris have doors?
Doris does have doors. Doris has 2 doors.
And that's the correct number of doors for Doris?
I think that's the correct number of doors.
So the clip that you sent me, was that the same car that I saw when I was down there? Wow.
And what are they racing now?
So they built a Conquest body frame, and they threw an Audi V8 engine in it.
A Conquest.
Dodge Conquest.
Wow.
I think it's Chrysler, to be more specific.
It's from the K car era? Oh,
probably.
It's kind of like a 280Z style.
Yeah. Like almost a Fiero for someone who's not paying attention.
I was going to say like a Supra, maybe. Less so.
Yeah.
Back in that time when it was like the RX-7, the 280, and all of those sort of 2-door coupe kind of zippy cars.
Yeah.
But I think there was a Dodge and a Chrysler of the same thing.
I think you're right.
It was.
GM was like that. Yeah.
It was actually a Mitsubishi car.
Mitsubishi. That's right.
Yeah.
My buddy in college.
But I think that Dodge and Chrysler both use the same name. Find it really quick.
They were cool.
It was also the Conquest as a Plymouth. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Remember Plymouth?
Yeah.
I do.
But
they had to redo
they
had to design brand new suspension and fabricate it and build it and all that. So Peter asked a very good question.
Welcome to the worst version of Car Talk. Yeah.
Yeah. The worst. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, we got some bluegrass musicians.
Wendy, Cheryl, everybody else. Yeah. Musicians. We talked about motorcycles last week, so it's musicians this week. That's fair. Yeah. They could overlap, but I'm assuming they don't. All right.
I used to live, my old house was in this cul-de-sac, and a couple houses over from me in the cul-de-sac was Sam Bush, who was one of the sort of legendary mandolin players of the world. And it was so cool because in Nashville, there's storms all the time, just like this week. And so power goes out all the time. And I just have this memory of having a big storm, the power goes out, and then everybody kind of goes outside to see kind of what happened. And Sam comes over and plays mandolin on our porch, and it's like, this is about as Nashville of a moment as you can get when it's just like one of the best mandolin players in the world, just kind of hanging out on your porch, just playing some porch music. It's like, those were wild days. That was right when I was sort of in the thick of a lot of things. But and Jerry Douglas lived one street over, as a matter of fact.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah. It was wild. We used to have these parties that were crazy. It would be like Alison Krauss, Bela Fleck, Sam Bush, Jerry Douglas, like all those guys. They were all sort of around the neighborhood.
And now look where you are. God, what has happened to you?
It's been a steep decline. But and a fun fact for anybody that wants to know, since I'm in the name dropping mode, is there's a record, a Bela Fleck record that I played lap steel guitar on, that won a Grammy. It's Tales from the Acoustic Planet Volume 3. And it's him playing with all of these master musicians from Africa. He took the banjo to Africa, which is sort of the roots of the banjo, and took it back there and played with all these different people. And he played with some of my idols of African music as well, brought all these tracks back. And then I put lap steel on it. But here's a fun fact. I have no idea how to play lap steel, and I play it left-handed upside down. So I am certainly the least talented person that has ever played on a Bela Fleck record.
If you don't know how to play it, you're not playing it wrong. Like you can't be upside down.
There is so much
or
to
it cancels
unpack
out
with all
If you
that.
if you go to if you look it up, there's a track. It's called the Dagari Jam. It's like this 8-minute kind of epic. Anyway,
Okay, that's I'm.
I've got a million stories like that I just try not to tell.
I'm going to bring 3 cases of PBR to Texas, and I want more stories.
All right, my past life as a functioning musician, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Now you're a non-functioning musician.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, y'all ready to get rolling?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. What is it like to become a pilot in midlife? The challenges are unique, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences. You definitely should not take any advice too seriously from an aviation podcast that uses terms like icing on the vegetables. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome to episode 123 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Whether you're a seasoned pilot, training for a rating, or just thinking about getting started in aviation, we like to think of the podcast as your aviation companion and your weekly dose of aviation inspiration. Tonight, we're going to be Hangar talking about hangars. I am Ben, and I am a pilot with an IFR rating and a commercial certificate based in the metro Atlanta area. Now resuming my flights with the Cessna 182 we call the Beast, and joining me, as always, a private pilot in Nashville who is also an author, a musician, a deep thinker. I could probably go on and on and on, but he is based at the home of the Bachelorette Super Charlie, flying a Cherokee 180 named Lucy. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. So glad to be back. Sorry I was out last week. There's been a lot of things going on, and then this week has been fun here in Nashville. We had a night where we stayed up all night and did not actually sleep. We had the most tornado warnings in one whatever sort of 24-hour period that's ever been issued or whatever. So it was a constant up and down and all around, and the 2020 tornado that came right here beside my house at John Tune Airport took out John Tune Airport, and also part of the prison that's right over here. So we pay attention because we kind of slept through the last one, and it came right by our house, less than a mile. So anyway, been a lot of wildness over here, but everything's cool. We're okay, and I'm super excited about the episode tonight.
I'm really glad you're back with us. Also joining us tonight, based in Portlandia, flying a flight design CTLS, we like to call the egg. It's our friend Ted. Good evening, sir.
Hey there. Glad to be here. Not flying the egg, just because of life, and that's okay.
It is okay.
Sometimes there are things other than aviation that go on.
No.
I know.
Let's not say that out loud too much. Let's try to keep that to ourselves. And a really quick story, Brian. Terry and I had just been married maybe 3 months, and we lived in an apartment. And there was a tornado that came through. It was very close to us. It took off like 3 shingles of the roof, but it knocked down. This was in a kind of a wooded area, these apartment complexes. And so they were really thin pine trees, but just really thick. And literally hundreds of them were knocked down. And we both remember in the morning that we both woke up and asked each other, did your ears pop? And Terry said, yeah. And she said, my ears popped too. And they were like, okay. And we went right back to bed. We had no idea what happened until we woke up the next morning.
There's something blissful about that. There's something blissful about being ignorant of the weather like we used to be. We just didn't know. So you didn't spend all this time worried. But I guess we were not nearly as safe.
That's probably true. So
we want to highlight
we weren't in a trailer park, so we didn't have to really worry about it.
Yeah. Can I highlight the phrase there? Thin but thick trees.
Thin trees planted very close together.
But thick. Yes. I appreciated the phrase. I want to hear about your annual because last we heard, you had one cylinder that had bad pressure, and you were waiting for the engine shop, and then you were going to talk to the engine shop and figure out what the timeline was. And weeks passed. So what happened?
Well, thank you for asking, Ted. So we got a whole new cylinder put on. I got a friend of the show, Javi. I believe you met him. He was out at Portland. Javi was kind of to fly me back over to Paulding, and I get out of the plane and I walk into the hangar and I see the mechanic. His name's Johnny. I said, "Hey, Johnny, how's it going?" He goes, "You guys have been flying the heck out of that airplane." He goes, "Over the last 5 years, I think you got more hours in that plane than a lot of flight schools get in their plane." Which, I don't know if that was a compliment, but so yeah, there was a laundry list. We replaced the cylinder. We overhauled the magnetos. New muffler, new seat tracks.
Wow.
So interestingly enough, the rods for the aileron controls were worn at the ends, and so we had to replace those. And they were oiled. And I always thought that the controls moved pretty smoothly, but when you get a whole new and they grease down, it is like glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was that one hit the wallet. I'll just say I've temporarily suspended studying for my multi-engine rating.
Understood.
So it's going to take us a little bit longer to recover from this one. And I'll be I had lunch with Stuart today, and we're talking maybe going ahead and doing an engine replacement next year.
Oh,
just go ahead, because it's getting close to 2,000 hours, and we're flying it, and it's parts wear out, and you have to replace them.
And you obviously hate money. So what was the cause of the low compression on that cylinder? Was it valve, ring?
I think it was definitely rings and valves. Okay. I think there was just different parts of it that I didn't get the specific answer as to why.
Yeah.
But the compressions were at 40, and when he staked the valve, when he lapped the valve, and when he lapped the cylinder, when he did all of his stuff, it went to 44.
Yeah.
So that's signed to replace it.
And he's been the same mechanic for a long time, and he does the same procedure on it. It's warm, all the things. It's not a new person seeing it and getting weird numbers. So
that's correct. He ran the engine before he got the engine hot before, when he did all his compression testing, and so I mean, he's very upfront with us, and he'll tell us we can take care of this next year. Know that start budgeting for it now. This needs to be taken care of this annual. He's always been very and we could do A, B, C, or D. He always has different ways to approach it, and he tells us, if this was my airplane, this is what I would do.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
That's exactly right.
Let's hit Peter T's comment. Is this the first cylinder to crap out? And no, I know the answer to that is no, because
we're doing a top overhaul. This is the third.
Yeah.
We're doing a top overhaul, one cylinder at a time. It feels like, which I guess is a way to amortize the engine. But no, I think next year we'll likely swap it out. But he told me first flight, stay around the airport, but he wanted me to fly it, break that cylinder in, fly for 45 minutes, full power, do your normal leaning operations. Just know that it's going to be hotter than the rest. And everything he said was exactly right. It just stayed hotter longer than the others. But it did come back down. And then flew again Saturday. So I channeled my inner Brian. I'm looking at my map. It's pretty much VFR, but it's windy everywhere. And I thought that my dad was down in South Florida. And so I just thought, I'm just going to go show up in an airport and see what happens.
Yeah.
And I flew to my hometown. I flew down to Thomaston, and I get out. It turns out our family physician, who's been a pilot forever, who hadn't seen in 25 years, is on the airport board in Thomaston, and he was just coming out of a meeting, so I got to catch up with him and show
Oh,
him the
that's cool.
plane. It was really cool. And then he had to leave, and I go sit. It's got like a front porch with rocking chairs in front, as any good Southern airport would have.
Exactly.
And there was just, I don't know if this bothers y'all. This is going to be very, very midlife of me to say, but there was this kid who was probably 8 or 9, and what I'm assuming is his grandmother. We're just kind of hanging out. There were parachute operations going on, so I just thought maybe they had somebody that was jumping, or they just wanted to watch. But this 9-year-old kid kept calling me bro. Hey, bro, is that your plane? You see that jet out there? That's my plane, bro. And, you know, I love that he's enthusiastic about it, but don't call me bro.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I just, man.
Well, I was thinking about the whole bro thing in the vernacular now. I suppose generationally, it's how our parents' generation felt when we were saying dude all the time.
Yeah, so I agree with that. Here's my thing. If I'm familiar with you and I'm a family friend, you can call me bro all day long. I'm a complete stranger.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
an elder. Yeah.
You should have gone with a very confusing, very stern, bro is my father, I work for a living. And just, he would be so confused. It just doesn't track. But yeah.
What, just if you just call him little tiny baby or something, and then and that'll sort out. But oh, and by the way, with respect to your annual and all the things you had done, I just wanted to say I've experienced this with cars all the time, where it's like, I love it when if I'm going to have to pay a bunch of money to get something done, I like the idea of getting it back, and it's not all of this money to just have status quo and to have anything that you can note about an improvement about anything, is, even if it's just the rigging a little bit or whatever. I mean, it doesn't compare to the numbers, right? But it's like, at least you've got status quo plus something noticeably better. That is huge psychologically to me. I can't stand it when it's, and aviation is this experience over and over again, where it's tons of money to have status quo.
I agree. And almost the smoothness of the ailerons and everything, almost, I'm not gonna say it was worth the price of admission, but it did feel better. And the muffler, I did notice it was a little bit quieter, maybe just smoother sounding, I guess is maybe a better way to say that.
Mm-hmm.
So excuse me, but I want to hit a couple of comments real quick. And I wish I'd have thought of this. The ugly cub. I always struggle with that name. That's when I usually say that's Mr. Bro to you, and I will use that next time that happens. And then our friend Elliot, no, Ben, he called you bruh, and that's worse.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
So, but yeah, so it's back. It went from not knowing when the plane was going to be done on Sunday to the plane will be done on Friday. When I learned on Monday that the plane would be done on Friday. So I was sweating it out a little bit about having it back in time for the big event that we have coming up.
Yeah.
Which is,
speaking of events and announcements section, Ben. Yeah. Segue to yourself. Yeah.
I was just saying it's pretty hard to segue to yourself, but I just did it.
Yeah.
You're welcome. For those of you who have been just joining the podcast for the first time, we have the Big Texas Send. We're having a big meetup at Tango 82, which is Gillespie County Airport in Fredericksburg, Texas, May 2nd through the 4th. May 2nd through the 4th. Come out, come see us, come hang. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty amazing time. There's a lot going on in the airport Saturday. There's a big open house. There's the Vietnam veteran wall is going to be there, the mobile version of it. There's going to be static displays, not on our behalf, but for the open house. And we're going to be recording a podcast at 4:00 Saturday in the TAC Arrow Hangar. So we would love it if you can make it. If you can, go to our website, midlifepilotpodcast.com. there's a link to RSVP. We're not going to hold you to it. Brian's not going to hunt you down if you don't come, but we're just trying to be able to get our hands around how many people are going to be there.
Yeah.
So.
Probably be taking that RSVP form down. So please register if you can. The hotel is full. There are places to stay in town. I know at least one person that kind of has withdrawn, that was staying in town. But it's getting pretty full. The event. So, I kind of owe everyone an update on the schedule and everything. So that'll be coming soon.
And people have said, hey, is there a registration fee or anything like that? Or why aren't you doing that? And we want to be very clear. The reason why we don't have a registration fee is because as soon as we have a registration fee, it becomes an event on a level that we don't want to be responsible for people's happiness or entertainment. So this is a meetup. We're going to be there. Like Ben said, a bunch of other things are going to be going on. One unspoken benefit of the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War that's going on with the VFW installation and gathering and all that's going on is midlifers will feel pretty young, I think, at this event. So that's pretty sweet. And but yeah, I mean, and if you have questions like this, the Ugly Cub is asking, is there camping on the field? I don't know. Do you guys know? But here's the thing: just ask the airport.
Yeah.
So that's part of the whole thing of everybody's responsible to have their own fun. We are going to be guiding it in a loose sense, and we have some fixed things going on, but not so much that it's like programming throughout. So I just want to make sure you guys all understand that. That to be said, we've just learned that the more this sort of applies to life, right? The more you have planned, the more it becomes stressful and the more it feels packed with too many things. And we've learned by doing these events that it's all about the hang. I mean, even though we've got some suggested places that you can go fly on Saturday, and we're going to have people intermingling and riding in different planes with each other and doing all these different things, it's really just about the hang. And that's what it's all about. So we'll all take care of each other. We've got some ride sharing that's happening from the commercial airports coming out of San Antonio and Austin for people coming that way. And that's being worked out in the Discord. There's a lot of different pieces. Cheryl is chiming in here to let us know there's not camping on the field, but lots of hotels and places to stay in town. And so there you go. That's it. I suppose you can sleep in your plane and nobody would know nobody would be the wiser, but I would say take advantage of things. There's a lot of resources, and it's a small town. Everything's very close together. So it's not difficult to take advantage of any resources that you need.
I'm just going to say this. If it was a IFR day on Saturday and we spent all day at the brewery, just hanging out and just chatting I might be all right with that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was just thinking when we were in Nashville, one of the highlights was Heads Up one night.
Oh my gosh.
We ended up with a shirt designed out of that for a while.
Yeah.
It is those random things and that we've had the most fun with.
So this will be what, our fifth fly-in, I think?
Is it? I have trouble counting, but yeah.
I think it is. 2 in Nashville, Outer Banks, St. Simon's, and then here.
Yeah, started with about 8 people, and now we're going to look at about 100.
Yeah.
So my point in mentioning that, at every single fly-in, something has not gone as planned and turned out probably better than we had planned it to begin with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like things just happen, and it's a lot of fun. And
well, that's why it isn't program tight or anything else.
Exactly.
It doesn't work. In this case, we're not even kind of setting a single place for meals. There's kind of one night we'll gather, but a lot of that is just to find a place in town. We have some suggestions, find what you want, go with a group, kind of spread out a little bit. So, it's going to be fun. It's going to be, it's one of those places I've wanted to go ever since you start flying, right? Because you've seen it. So,
well, let's go ahead and hit the. Oh, sorry, Ted. I was just gonna say, let's go ahead and hit the housekeeping and do a little belly washing, if you don't mind, Brian.
All right, let's knock it out and get on with the topic here. So, housekeeping. We are grateful for you all making this the best pilot community that we know of, a positive space where we share everything from training experiences, share personal minimums, tackle ownership challenges. Boy, do we have those. Review flight plans, and best of all, make new aviation friends. You can connect with us, join us in our Patreon community for $1 a month, or you can do a one-time annual Patreon, starting at 25 cents per podcast episode, which we think is about right. No. Access exclusive content, including check ride debriefs, which are many, and many more are coming. Anybody at any level can go back and watch these debriefs with Discord or Discord community members, and it's just amazing. Mark's been One Dull Geek has been killing those things. It's awesome. Speaking of killing, we also have Killing Zone conversations and more in our Discord. 10% of your support on Patreon for us will support the Freedom Aviation Network's anti-human trafficking efforts. Watch us live on YouTube, Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Share your stories, midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com. We read all the messages, and you might hear yours on the show. And for everything Midlife Pilot Podcast, community feedback, merch, dad hats, maybe some other things coming up here soon, and more, midlifepilotpodcast.com.
Yeah, all the goodies. Well, let me talk about our community.
Please, I was about to ask.
We have some new Patreon supporters. So at Landomatic, I'd like to thank Chris B. At Hershey Bar, I'd like to thank Andrew W.
Andrew L.
Andrew L. Sure, and Andrew W. Whoever that is, I haven't met them. And with those debriefs that we have, those are Patreon only. Those don't go out to the podcast. There's a library, an archive of them that you can get to, and our Caps Available members usually get them posted basically when they're done, not when we schedule them out. So we've put them over there, which is nice. A couple of things to highlight out of Discord this week. Scott W. hit 100 hours. All right. That's a nice accomplishment. Personnel called Juliet 4 posted their perfect orange dot landing at Sun and Fun. That was a great shot out of a RV-12.
Yep.
And one that's hard to explain on the podcast. It'll be in the show notes and it's on Discord, but Tyler S. made a personal minimums website. You can generate and kind of record and share your personal minimums there.
So cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to try this, but it'll be in the show notes. personal-minimums.web.app. I hate saying URLs on the air. It either worked or you're going to look in the show notes. So
look in the show notes.
Yeah. Let's, Ben, you want to get us into this?
Well, I want to hit a comment in the chat real quick.
Yeah.
That kind of hits home for us. Chris Jackson writes he's in our live chat right now. He says, "Hey y'all," he must be from the South, so he's got to be great already. "Finally made it live. Y'all gave me the courage to get my sport at 27 years old. I'm only a quarter of the way through, and this guy was made to fly. Thanks for all y'all do." Actually, that was a typo. He's 37 years old.
Yeah.
That was the second comment right after that. He goes, "I'm only 6 hours into my sport, and this man was made to fly. So thanks for everything."
Oh, man.
All right. What an exciting time.
Great feeling. Yeah.
I would like to go back in time and relive that whole private training.
There's some parts that I'm glad not to. Mostly what I call hours 8 through 20, where it's like, my brain will not figure this out. The movements do not line up with what they should be. So,
right.
But yes, it was such a great time. And Chris, reach out, especially because you're a sport pilot. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. So tonight we're going to talk about hangars, not the stuff that you put your shirts on, but the things you put your airplanes in. I've made it known the beast sits outside. He's an outdoor pet, and it's not by choice. If you live in a metropolitan area with multiple airports, this is a very common problem of not having any hangar space available. Well, and let me qualify that in that we could do a group hangar. and let the FBO manage the movement of our airplane to and from that hangar, and pay slightly less than my mortgage note at my house.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, we are just not in a position to do that. The issue is I could drive an hour and a half away and get a hangar for almost the same price I'm paying a tie down for.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth it. We had a hangar for a short period of time in Cartersville. That would be Victor Papa Charlie, which is a great, quiet little airport. It was a 40-minute drive, which, Brian, I think that's getting kind of close to your commute.
Yeah, about 2/3 of my commute.
Okay. Still, it worked out pretty well. We had places to store things. If I could not make everybody dizzy by taking my camera off and showing you off to my right, you can see half the supplies for the airplane. We have an oxygen tank. We have the cannulas. I have wheel fairings sitting over here. We don't have any place to put that stuff. None of that to say the ill effects of having your plane outside. What it does to the paint, what it does to all sorts of things, moisture getting inside the avionics, that, you can't prevent it completely. So, it's a struggle, and that's what we're going to talk about.
I have a question.
You would
for you,
like
Ben.
to add to that?
I have a question for you, Ben.
Okay.
I don't know if Atlanta area is as bad as Nashville, but it's pretty close in terms of just constant weather threats. It's just nonstop, as we were talking about earlier. And I think about it almost pretty much weekly. There's something that's going on where I think, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that the airplane is not outside right now. I would be fully stressing because it's always the threat of hail. It's always the threat of tornadoes. There's always high winds and gust fronts coming through. And if you guys haven't forgotten, a plane that I was in a kind of a timeshare weird situation with a couple of years ago, we had one of those gust fronts come through God, what do they call those winds? There's a certain type of wind where it's
Gradient.
Like, gradient wind. Yes. Gradient winds, 60 miles an hour or whatever all day. And it ripped the plane off of it ripped snapped the loop for the
tie down.
The tie down. Thank you.
Off the plane, not off the ground, but
right. Ripped it. Yeah. And then only one of them snapped. So then it just lifted the wing up and then it just flipped the plane over and destroyed it. And, and that's after, the tornado and seeing every single plane in every building just get wiped off of that airport, and that was one of those things where nobody really saw it coming until it was happening. Yeah. So I don't know. How do you deal with the imminent threat of terrible southern weather?
The dread. Yeah.
Well, a couple of things. There's been a couple of times I do have a friend that has a large hangar. It's Larry, who I got to fly the L-39 with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If he has one of his planes, he's got a son that lives in Utah, I think. And sometimes he'll have his plane over there in commercial back or whatever. So there'll be space in his hangar. And he's reached out to me. When you see those long squall lines that aren't dissipating at all, and, from Jackson, Mississippi, then to Birmingham, you're hearing all these reports of tornadoes. You have a better feeling that this one's going to be worse. I'll say this too. The weather channels here in Atlanta are now just sounding the alarm on everything.
Yeah.
Today was supposed to be massive tornadoes, and there was a couple of claps of lightning, and that's all that it was. So they're sounding the alarm for better, for worse. My point is there's been occasion where he's offered me a spot in his hangar. But outside of that, it's just kind of, it's one of the hazardous attitudes. It's just resignation. There's nothing we can do about it.
So now, have you ever gone out to do the things like, stabilizing the plane with 2x4 contraptions and things to try to triple tie it down when something's coming through, or do you constantly think about hangar versus repositioning, or hurricane things that happen? I don't know. I feel like I would go absolutely crazy.
The problem is, it would be extremely disruptive to our lives for every major storm that comes through here that we go do something with the airplane.
Yeah.
It just can't be done. And I hate to sound glib about it, but honestly, that's what we have insurance for.
Yeah.
We just can't. There is no good solution for this.
You don't have a lot of choices. So because of that, why bother being concerned about it? What
There's
do you
a
do
level
about
of concern, but it's not going to keep me up at night. I can promise you that.
What do you do about tying down? All right, do you reef on them until the wings start to bend? Do you just throw them on and walk away? Because that's the other thing I think of.
We keep it very tight on all lines. The tail tie down is a little bit more of a challenge and worries me a little bit more than the others. But having it tight only does so much. My concern with the tail is it getting pushed down.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do for that. I've seen quite a few folks, and I believe Alpha Juliet, who's in our chat, and their club planes, they've gotten these tie down straps with the hooks, which makes it really easy to get it good and tight. I haven't done any research on what has the highest tensile strength, gone through any of that, because I got to tell you, if a tornado hits Romeo Yankee Yankee, it doesn't matter what we do, it's going to get damaged.
Yeah.
Even if my plane stays perfectly still, that doesn't mean another airplane is going to get tossed on top of it. The scenarios are endless. So,
can I say something real quick?
Yes, please.
When the plane that I mentioned got ripped out and flipped over, it was pretty clear that why that happened was because it was using ratchet straps and there was no give. It was so tense and so tight it just put all of the force onto that tie down hook. And so that is, we got another one here. Aero Grizzly saying, with regards to wings about to bend, be careful with ratchet straps. It's possible to tighten them too much and do damage. And I think that is a big reason why this particular plane had that fate.
Do you remember what that video was titled? The flip over?
I'll let you know.
We'll put it in the show notes. I with the ratchet straps, I'm actually really concerned about their low strength numbers. If you've got straps that hold 300 or 500 pounds, how much lift are your wings generating? So that's always made me nervous to use kind of hardware store straps.
Yeah,
I use some thicker ones. They have the pawl. They don't click ratchet. And it has a really thick kind of rubber section on it. So it has a little bit of give. So for me, that's kind of the combination that makes me not worry if I'm parked outside somewhere, especially because I'm an Eagle Scout and I cannot tie knots. So I don't trust myself with that.
I still want to learn how to tie it's not a lot, about maybe 10% of line guys know this knot, but it's the knot where it's not like the one they teach you in flight school. It's the one that it's the flight school knot that is way better, but also has the magic feature of just one tug of the lead, and it all just beautifully unravels perfectly.
Yeah.
I somebody document that, please, and I'll spend a whole summer trying to figure it out because I'm terrible at spatial relations and all that stuff. But I love that. Anything's better than rusty swing set chain tie downs, right? Like you see those, you're like, good Lord.
Right.
But so let's talk a little bit about we're doing hanger talk, and we're talking about we're doing it by inverse.
We'll go from ramp talk to hanger talk.
And so I wanted to.
We want to hit. Don't we have should we hit the rant, or should we talk about the hangers first?
Well, hang on. It's not a rant. We asked Mark to tell us his story because he has a whole bunch of experiences with things between the ramp and the hanger, and so he recorded for us a clip to explain that. So here we go.
Hey guys, I have a question for those of you who have hangers. First, let me say this. I hate you. I am so insanely jealous. Well, not really, but saying it works better for comedic purposes. From my perspective, there are 5 levels of airplane storage. Number 1 is on the ramp and tie downs. Number 2 is on the ramp, but with a shaded covering. Number 3 is in a hangar with no door, i.e. an open T hanger. Number 4 is a hangar with a door or electricity. And number 5 is in a hangar with a door and electricity. I had Maggie, my Cherokee 140, at level 1, which was in tie downs. And that meant a few things. First, because she was pretty much always in the sun, I had to always put a cover on her, which served 2 goals. First, to keep the sun off the avionics, and second, to keep the rain out of the cabin. Of course, when it was windy, putting a cover on by myself was extremely difficult. The other thing that tie downs don't really afford is a place to store stuff like spare oil or tools. With the 235, we have her in a level 3, an open T hanger. And because she's still exposed to the sun, we still put a cover on her to protect the avionics. However, having walls on 3 sides makes putting that cover on a bunch easier. And despite having one side completely open, it's very rare that we get rain inside the hangar, even on the windiest days. We also have 2 tool chests in the back of the hangar, in which we store oil filters, and a host of other tools and other miscellaneous stuff. But we don't have electricity, which makes parking the airplane at night something of a challenge. And it also means we don't have a way to preheat the engine on cold days. So we have to go in an extra hour earlier to fire up the propane heater in order to avoid, as Mike Bush puts it, committing a felonious crime against the engine by starting it. For those of you with hangars and a door, what do you store in your hangars? Do you have electricity? Do you have a refrigerator with cold beverages in it? Never mind. I really don't want to know. I'm probably just going
to... Oh, that's so good. Thank you, Mr. Wondle Geek, for your gracious insight. And I love how he breaks it down into these DEF CON levels. This is really great. And there's actually one that he didn't. There's maybe one more gradient in there, which would be insulated, because I think that is a huge difference. A lot of these are not. And then I can just sort of talk you through what our hangar is a little bit and tell you what we've kind of got in there, what likes, dislikes. But first and foremost, so lucky to have a hangar that we can put the plane in and feel reasonably secure. It is an hour away, as you guys know, and that is a thing for sure. But the other option is to tie. I would rather have it in a hangar an hour away from me than tied down 3 minutes from my house. And that is a tough call to make sometimes.
Yeah.
But the cost relative to these airports would be about the same, and the availability for even tie downs is pretty much nil. So love the hangar that we have. It's got a power door, full size. I don't know what the terms are. It's not the slidey wide. It's a vertical folding door.
Like a California garage door.
Yeah. And which is nice because it acts as like a little baseball cap and or a big baseball cap in the summer sometimes, depending on where the sun's coming from. And it's just been absolutely great to just be able to keep things there and know that they're safe as they can be. One of the things I don't love about the hangar, as much as it does have electricity, that's great. To answer Mark's question real quick, what do we have in this hangar? Yes, we have a refrigerator in the hangar. There's people that have really amazing hangars. You see these people in, I don't know, these fantasy worlds that I framed pictures and
neon signs and
Japanese
bars.
whiskey and just like all these things. That was the thing I got on CFI Ben Lehman about when I did my tail wheel over there. He's got the leather couches and the Japanese whiskey and you ask for a water and you get a Perrier. It's so nice. But we have a refrigerator that's usually not freezing everything. The challenge there is that the weather is just so fluctuating here that sometimes we have to shut it down and then bring it back to life. But yes, we do have a fridge. We honestly don't have a ton of stuff. There was more things in there before we kind of cleared out. There was a couch, there was some things, but just kind of got out of that. It's more kind of patio style. There's a big piece of kind of industrial, very flat laying carpet. So there is kind of a semi carpeted area to one side, and that's really nice to just feel like you're not always on concrete. The lighting is actually okay-ish. One thing I don't love about the hangar is it's not fully the walls are not all the way to the top, so we can't do things like turn on the heat that we have. You can kind of get near the heater and that feels nice, but it doesn't there's no chance of it keeping any kind of heat whatsoever. It's all just going to rise and just dissipate into the rest of the hangars. And so that is kind of a bummer in the wintertime. But I'll take that problem any day. We definitely have gotten some pretty cool tools and organizers and things, and that's what hobo freight is for, is all of that kind of stuff. And so we've got a bunch of tools and a bunch of cleaning supplies and various cans of things. It's the beams that are the mid-row beams, support beams, are perfect shelves to just line with all kinds of just oil and CamGuard and spray paint cans and corrosion X and whatever. So we have a lot of products and a lot of things there, which is nice to just be able to keep all that stuff there. And we have what's it called? A switched on. It's a it's a remote power switch with 2 plugs on it that you can use your mobile phone through a cellular network to turn off or on either one of the plugs, and then whatever you're running off of those will be powered off or on. So that's been pretty cool to have, and it also tells you the temperature in the hangar remotely, so you kind of always know exactly what's going on with the temperature in the hangar. And I think I mentioned too that the Twin Hornet here that we have has been really great to have, and that's having a powered hangar, electricity at the hangar has been huge, because we can just put that Twin Hornet right into the cowl and switch it on, or make sure it's switched on with our phones remotely or whatever, and we can see what temperature we're kind of up against or how long it might take, because we can get a read on it. So we've got a few nice things. It's not a full-on luxury situation, but it's close, in terms of like just functionality, but mostly it's just great. It's also, the hangars are on the east side of the Bowling Green Airport, so there's sort of an outpost. You actually have to get on the intersection runway to taxi down to cross the main runway to get to the FBO, but fuel trucks will come out to us and all of that. So that's been really cool. So you have, in a way, it's kind of nice to be away from the FBO and all of the goings on and be on sort of the other side of the tracks, but still be able to get fuel brought out to you or any other help that you need. So that's been pretty cool. Generally speaking, it's been great, and we love it. I love the Bowling Green Airport. I really love being based at an airport that has intersecting runways, especially when you're coming back from a long cross country. It's one more peace of mind thing, with respect to winds or whatever might be going on. So that's pretty much the story of our hangar.
So I have a question, if I may.
Yeah.
Is there, I'm sure that we have, there's a few in the chat that have said this, and I've also seen this in the Discord server. Is there a distance of commute that you'll say, forget it, I'm going to tie it down at John Toon?
Well, I don't like to talk too much about specific financial things or details, but I'll just say this. This plane is based in Kentucky, was purchased in Kentucky, stays in Kentucky, and we are in Tennessee. Kentucky does not have a sales and use tax. Our business, the holding company, is based in Kentucky. Everything is, and then other partners. Bottom line is we would get exposed to a mass tax event. It's the moment we decide to bring it here.
Let me rephrase the question.
Yeah.
Let's say you live in Kentucky and Bowling Green's is right around the corner from your house. And they just went up on your rent tenfold.
Sure.
And now you've got to go somewhere else.
No, I get.
Put all that aside. What is the length of distance? Because somebody made a comment in Discord that was, "Hey, I have an hour commute to my hangar, and I realized I left my iPad.
Yeah,
and I either have to cancel the flight or add 2 more hours to my day so I can go flying." That's kind of where I'm going with it. For those in our audience who are considering, I have a neighbor who is buying an airplane, and he thinks he can just stroll up to McCollum and put it in a hangar.
I'd like a hangar,
and maybe
please.
he has the funds to do one of those group hangars. But I'm like, "You're doing a group hangar?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, you've
good
got
luck,
a
sir.
little bit more to learn."
Yeah.
So that's my question: is there a distance?
Yeah. Well, in the crudest sense, to answer that, I think I would probably be willing to go an hour and a half, depending on the nature of the drive or various other variables.
Right,
But I really would, because I'm doing less and less just messing around flying, and it's more purposeful to go somewhere generally. And I have resources here to where, if I want to do some local flying, I can go do some, go rent a tail wheel or whatever, and, do that kind of thing for just a sunset flight or whatever. So maybe I have some options in that way. The other thing that's weird, though, here's the weird thing, is that I do live right beside John Tune Airport. So what that means is, if I drive to Bowling Green and I'm about to go, say, on a trip to, whatever, to come see you or go further south or anywhere, a couple hour flight somewhere, and I realize I forgot something important, I can just fly down here to John Tune. It's a 25-minute flight, land, either have somebody come bring it to me or hop in a courtesy car and run over to my house in 2 minutes and grab it and then go right back and then kind of just continue on. So I do have a little bit of safety in that way. And we do have a third car in the sense that, this is kind of goofy, but we have a bunch of old cars. I have 2 old Toyotas. We have an old Volvo, and then my wife has an old Toyota 4Runner and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I will drive to Bowling Green in one of my I'll drive like the Celica to Bowling Green, pull the plane out, put the Celica in the hangar, fly the plane down to John Tune. I will have already positioned another car there, and then I can have a car here, and then now I can go to or from either one of those places and have a car that's my own, that's waiting on me. And so I've been able to benefit from that by just having 2 old cars. So there's a bunch of weird kind of maybe things about that are specific, but about the hangar talk piece of it and just the sort of how far would you go? Yeah. I would go pretty darn far, and even further than probably what most people would do, just because honestly, I've had to struggle that much just even before I had a plane. When I was in a sort of a club, I had to go an hour and a half to get to that plane. I've always just had to struggle to get to wherever I'm going to fly, except for when I was training at John Tune right next to the airport, or when I happen to have my airplane right there, which I'll bring it down here sometimes for a few days or whatever. So you kind of get to split the difference a little bit. I don't mind tying it down there when I know the weather's going to be good for the next 4 or 5 days, although that is changing because now they've upped their fees and but anyway, that's the story on that.
I'd like to hear Ted.
Ted's probably got a
couple of different hangars.
Yes, I have.
And I'm curious as to why each one and why you made the move. Can you give us a little bit of a download on that?
Yeah. So with a fiberglass plane, it's considered more important to have somewhere to get it out of the UV light. It should be fine outside like any other plane, but there's a little more incentive, and I'm obviously motivated for it. I trained at Twin Oaks. I got a hangar at Hillsboro, which is basically next door. And the reason I got the one at Hillsboro is it was the only place I could get a hanger. And I was on a waiting list for about 5 months, which is the amount of time that I was waiting to buy the plane as well. So I went to Arizona to get the plane with the padlock I was going to put on the hanger that I'd get issued sometime while I was flying it back. So fantastic timing to never put it on a ramp, to just go straight into a hanger that I'd never seen until I taxied up to it.
Wow.
I was really happy for that. Now, it's across town, going through town, through downtown, and then on the freeway out there. It's 45 minutes. It's a lot, but it's a lot mentally. But I was thrilled. It's half of it's on highway, which makes it easier.
Is this the one you could take the train to?
I've taken it between the two. Yeah. So with a bicycle, it was really close to light rail, which was nice. It's out there by Intel and everything else. But so I had that. Now, at the same time I got on that waiting list, I got on a waiting list for the airport that's closer to me. That one took 18 months before a hangar opened up. And so when that opened, I just switched airports. And so I go from 45 minutes away to just under 20 minutes, and it's almost all on the interstate, which is so nice. I can forget something and go grab it and come back, even if it's just an SD card. It's like, I'm going to be back in 45 minutes. I can handle this. So it's been really nice. Now, I went from an airport with 2 runways plus a crossing runway to an airport with a single runway in an area with crazy wind. But it's always down the runway. So as long as you can handle maximum wind, it's fine. The airport, the hangars are definitely on the wrong side of the tracks. They're across from the FBO. They're old hangars. I've actually never been to the FBO. I've been there 6 months, and the hangar has an asphalt floor instead of concrete, so it's a little rougher. But all that stuff's fine. None of that stuff mattered, right? It's being in a hangar and to this thing of how far would you go for a hangar? For me, it's as far as I have to and get closer as I can. And I was so thrilled I was able to do that. So I have a great time with it. I really appreciate, having somewhere to put it and getting it closer. So,
so I want to know, and by the way, anybody in the chat, please, we want to get to you guys here in a minute. And so tell us what your hangar thoughts are.
Yeah, we've got some comments saved to go through, because there's some great comments definitely tonight. Yeah,
it's like hangar thoughts with Jack Handy. But I was going to ask you, Ted, I believe that you have pretty much, I don't know, I'm sort of clandestine 3D printing operation there. I think that you have probably a custom hook shelf pegboard storage. I'll tell you this, Ted, like I remember I went and filmed the inside of the Tennessee State Prison over here for the Department of Correction, and it was getting guided around. And I'll never forget going into the workshop kind of area, and then you open these huge doors to where they kept all the tools back in the day, and they had the perfect outline on the pegboard of each tool, so you could see exactly what was out and what was in and what was missing. I feel like you have sort of a version of that.
I believe the term for that is knolling, KNOLLING.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see when the podcast comes out if I'm right or not.
Okay.
I'm not that well organized for that. But yeah, I got a bunch of metal shelving units that have the particle board across it. They're 2 feet by 4 feet, kind of standardized. So I've got 3 giant racks with that. One of them pretty much has tools on it. The other one has, I guess, mostly parts and oil, things like that. And then the third is where I have just this massive collection of maintenance manuals and everything else that the original owner had gotten published for it. And it also has a shelf that has just like GoPro adapters. It's a short shelf, but it's like I always have the wrong adapter combination of things for what I want to do. So they're just laid out really nicely. And then I have a little mini shelving unit that has basically a cooler and a fireproof safe with my logbooks, my airplane logbooks, and yeah, a whole bunch of chargers too. So USB chargers.
I imagine there's a couple of cameras, weather reading instruments that you can all tie into your phone. I just figured the timestamp Ted has rigged this Hangar up to where he's got whatever piece of information he needs when he needs it.
Yeah, where's I'm sure you have a hologram hanger or something.
I have not had Wi-Fi access at either of them. I'm hoping that I can find the right person at the helicopter school to talk to and get on their guest network. But I have a little hotspot. It just doesn't stay up very well. And of course, there's a Raspberry Pi sitting there, but I can't do anything with it. I know I just got the nerds there. So I don't even have a camera or anything else. It's one of those like, in the future, I'd love to do more with that, but I can't now. I was happy that I was able to put in lights, an insane number of lights into it over the winter, and now you can just see everything, see
That's
all
great.
the flaws. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nice. And as far as creature comforts, I have a folding camp chair and an old school desk that was in there when I got the place. That's
That's
it.
cool.
Because I also have a rug that says 220 that came from the Nashville meetup. Thanks for whoever gave that to me. It might be Flint. But yeah, I don't sit down too much when I'm over there. Sometimes I do, and that's a great spot to do it. Just sit there and kind of solve problems or whatever. But I'm usually working on something. The doors on it slide left and right. They are insanely heavy. I basically have to put a foot on one and pull on the other to get them started opening. And then they open. So I feel like such a weakling when I do that. But I found this out pretty quickly. My car fits under my wing by 2 inches consistently anywhere. So I open the door, I put my car in, I close the door, I work, I prep the plane, whatever, and then I leave. And the car's already in there. I don't have to do the shuffle of what do you put where.
I was experiencing recently a high wing, low wing. We've talked about this ad nauseum, of course, but I was experiencing this recently with the annual and some other things going on where in the hangar, it's actually kind of a drag to have a low wing when you're having to do things going front to back, but you have to go all the way around, over and over and over again. Yeah. That can be a little maddening. So that was one little thing I experienced where I was like, hey, low wing's not making me happy right now. Yeah, I'm going around all the time.
Can you hear my eyes rolling? We've got a lot of comments in the chat that I wanted to get to. I want to make one other point, though, that when you ask me about the weather and the storms coming through, it doesn't create a lot of anxiety. I tell you what does, though, is when we get the cold snaps. We don't have any electricity there. We can't preheat the engine. Starting that engine cold has probably done more damage to the plane than anything else we've done.
Mm-hmm.
And that one aspect would make me want to drive an hour away. But with that said, there's a couple of things that I agree with that was said here. I wanted to find the first one.
Now, I do have to interrupt you.
Please.
It's probably the second worst thing that you've done for your engine.
The
first is, I believe you've let AJ fly your plane.
I have not let AJ fly my airplane. So
okay, it is the worst thing.
He has been at the controls, but he wasn't managing the engine. So
yeah.
I want to hit this one first because having had a hangar in Cartersville, I felt this the same. Brian Drennan says, my plane is an hour away, and the drive time does have a big impact on the amount of flying I can do. And I think, Brian, to what you were saying earlier, the little sunset flights, the little pattern work, whatever you want to do, that will probably get reduced. But when your airport is 15 minutes away from your, I will just go up and go poke holes in the sky. Yeah. When we're at Cartersville, pretty much all my flights were cross country. So I think this is a good point, especially for those listeners out there who are trying to figure out whether they want to do a tie down far or close by or a hanger far away.
Yeah. One of the other things that was caught in there, and I know Mike Alpha Golf has done this, Wendell Geek has done this, actually Brian has done this, which is sometimes you don't get a plane and find a hanger for it. Sometimes you get into a club that has a hanger, and the clubway is such a great way to go. That's one of the many reasons for it.
Yeah.
You buy into a plane that is already set up. So I wanted
That's a big
to
deal.
highlight that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I got one more that I want to hit. Our friend Peter Tarantelli, he says, I'm sure waiting lists are a thing, and there's been a lot of discussion in the chat about this. We've been on a list at Cartersville and at Cherokee County. Cartersville since 2019. We were at 78, and I think we're at 73 now.
Oh,
So
yeah, we've
now
got
there are plans to build more hangars, but it's just the waiting lists are kind of a joke, if I being honest.
We've got it seems like everything here is the list is going back to the Reagan administration or something.
Yeah.
So
I absolutely agree with that. So
Now there was a lot of talk about the other levels in Wendell Geek's hanger level thing, which makes me think of Larry Miller's 5 levels of drinking. But Cheryl says level 7 is her backyard heated with water and a bathroom.
Oh yeah.
And Kellick also says that, which is living in an air park. That's got to be the dream, just for that.
that to me is the answer to all the solutions right there. But
the answer to all the solutions.
Yeah.
The answer to all the solutions. Just wrap all the solutions into one answer.
That was the icing on the vegetables for
That's
the
exactly right.
Exactly. I also want to hit up Flying Midwest. Up in the Great North, there's no way I'd want to keep my hanger, probably my plane, outside with or without heat. That is very true. We are all living in different places, and I would like to have heat, but it's optional because I don't really like it below freezing. So it's not the end of the world for me. It would be the end of the world if you're in the frozen white north, for sure. And
yeah,
it depends on where you live for this stuff, of course. Yeah.
Well, I have a couple more questions for you, Ted, that we'll ask later because we're out of time. But I'm really interested in the idea of the nature of what your plane is made of and what limitations that has, that where it's not ideal to have it in certain climates, whatever. So maybe we'll get to that at some other point, but or point us to a link or something in the show notes. But we'll do one more quote here from the chat here. Lincoln Family Adventures. Hey guys, I'm new to the podcast and I'm glad I found it. I've always wanted to learn to fly, but I never have had the extra time or money, but now somehow I do. Well,
yeah,
boy, just that is a great feeling and a great time, and that's a sign, so get after it, because that feeling of having anything extra, the further you go, will just disappear, and it'll be totally worth it.
Totally. It's a great level of energy. We were talking about that earlier, and coming into aviation, so much fun. So you're in for a good adventure.
Yeah.
And definitely keep us posted on how things are going. So
yeah.
Well, anything else, gentlemen, for the good of the order?
No, it's been a good one.
Yeah.
Well, tonight's bit of wisdom: if you're the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. So with that, I want to thank everybody in the chat and putting up with us and all the solutions to my one problem.
I just thought it was funny. You're like,
to my answer.
What you're talking about? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat.
Right.
And I'm leaving the room.
Yeah. Terrible segue. Yes. I need to leave the room with the way things are going for me tonight. And not because I'm the smartest person. I can assure you of that. Well, look, we appreciate everybody joining us tonight and all the support we get on Patreon. Thank you all. And signing off, episode 123 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Good night, everybody.